aggression just really comes into play. And maybe you could say the same thing about Drew here, really putting the damage down. Spots that player, misses the opportunity to get the shot though. Goes back in, there's a wall there, but he'll wrap back round. And this fight will reset. As Stompy and Drew will look to go again.
Is this the right adjustment overall for the team of Stompy and Drew? 32nd place overall. Is the mid-game fight really the thing that needs to be added to their repertoire, their arsenal, start really pushing forward their games and get closer towards that top 20, that top 10? Question will be answered in this fight, but I think the issue with them is that they like these long drawn-out engagements. Drew apparently has like heat-seeking built in to his MK7. You can see straight through that bush. A few shots taken. And yeah, Swifty's going to be very surprised about that one.
Yeah, I know if that was me, I'd be fuming. I'd be going off in our little call there if I was Swifty, but...
What's this?
Look, they're trying to take an isolated fight, and it's all good and well trying to take an isolated box fight to help, you know, mitigate the effects of Storm Surge. But if a team like Hutty and Swifty come rolling through, instantly, you know, things start to get a bit dicey, and you have to try to get out of that coop and frack. We're out in, you know, bossing the lobby by any means. We'll go down to the deal and reason.
FNCS finals.
Any duo they come across as fodder, right? They don't even take any regard of who you are or the fact that you're playing in the FNCS finals. If we want to fight you, we will get in.
Absolutely. There's a little bit of a difference overall too between them and Stompy, right? Like, it's just, you can see the difference in speed.
Whatever team wins 3 mil.
Nice. I feel like still the one thing we haven't seen is this duo just play the game. What have Han and Queasy been doing? I've only really seen them on that top overhead, you know, view overall in day number 1, somewhere in mid-ground, trying to live. I just want to see that control ASAP.
Yes, we've seen them in mid-ground. Right, when you go back and watch a lot of their games from this season, I still think they are an elite mid-ground team, right? Like, they have the ability to boss it from there. But in these lobbies, I just want to see them on height. But it's been so difficult to take height, right? All of these teams who look to posture for it, obviously they've got to deal with the likes of Noah and Aqua, Thinken and Ass, Thomas and Tayson. There'll be other teams that'll look to get in the mix as well, even Janice and Vortex, once they wake up from their slumber.
Good. Pino Joe, I think they just took apart an entire duo inside Shifty. Now there's another one rolling in, so the waves will start to just come through. I think game 1 was a set game plan for a lot of people. There's Melody. Yeah, this is not Scram and Earth Squad, my friends. You're not expecting the same fight from game 1. Joe and Vino do not mess around. You see one, you will always find the other. They're a lot more closely tied to the hip. And speak of the duo, and they shall arrive. Scram and Revsguard are here, but I'm not sure they know if it's Joe and Vino. Yeah, they've seen the feed. They must. There's no one else really in this position. Who else, or where else will Cappy and Melody land? 60 damage from that spot. That's exactly what Revsguard wanted. Hopefully receive none, and they'll be on their way.
Yeah, and this is what it's all about, right? I think a lot of the time we'll see these teams make these all-in plays to try to deal with Surge. But if you can just sort of go about your business, pick away, 60 tags here, 60 tag there, 60 everywhere, you'll be well and good on the Storm Surge leaderboard, right? So hopefully we don't see these guys struggling with that too much. I feel like every time we get deeper into game, Shia, we're seeing these guys just ending up in these situations where they're just not able to be as effective in tight spaces, right? They're still top players. I'm not going to act like they're like old or anything, but you know, they're not back in their prime a couple of years ago where put them in the most difficult and tightest of spaces and they excel. They still do need a bit of space to operate in.
I like the fact that you're mentioning celebration and then now no longer being in your prime. That birthday for you hitting different today, eh?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're getting a little bit older. And, you know, what's your celebration today, Levin? What are you doing on your glorious 20th birthday?
I am enjoying the best Fortnite players in the world show what they can do. And it's funny that, you know, as we start talking about this, the best Fortnite players in the world are on our screen. Tayson and Top. Okay, let me chill out.
I'll allow it because it's your special day, all right? I'll allow it for one time.
Look, I think the big question around these guys is going to just be, are these guys still the best Fortnite players in the world? At any given moment in the past 2 years, really?
I'm loving the new banner.
Who do you think is the best Fortnite player in the world? there's a good chance they're going to say Tayson or Thomas. This season, that hasn't always been the case, and so this is going to be their chance, to prove that they are still in that upper echelon of Fortnite players.
10th overall, this is the day that we expect them to do good, and they kind of have to, because once again, there is no day number 3. Lincoln defaults.
The Batman logo in her name is just 100 points red heart spider.
I mean, they're not even at that desert POI, and they're still making this duo cry.
Yes, William and Lecce can't catch a break. Cannot catch a break, and I feel like every time Link gets an elimination, he just goes for the dance. Like, he looks to emote, show off some of the stuff he's got in that locker of his. Some impressive stuff. Thank you as well to production for the birthday message. Appreciate it, guys. One's in the back.
Completely
Yeah, you missed it, bro.
I'm just looking at the fight. I'm so sorry.
No, we good. They work hard in the back and showing some love. I appreciate that.
I want to get a little bit of your bias here, right?
Okay.
If there's a present we could give you in terms of one duo just winning, is it Tayson and Thomas? Or is it your prediction? What does Levin's heart truly say? Expose yourself.
My heart wants...
What does your body want? What does your heart want?
My body wants Tayson and Thomas to win. I don't know, man. I love Tayson, you know? How can I not love Tayson? Lovely family
Yeah.
as well. Mum and Dad wish me happy birthday, so, you know, big up them.
Aww.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think Anas and Pink got the opposite end of a present when it comes to game number 1, losing that first place title, but they're not too far behind when it comes to trying to catch up. We'll see if it's possible. 171 overall inside second place. And they have to catch up just a little bit. 174, 3-point difference overall for the duo. This is looking kind of tough, though. I haven't seen Pink take this much damage starting off a fight.
Yeah, they got to stay cool in this situation. Pink especially, you can see he's just stuck up against this mountain. There's not much room for him to operate in. And Nas does really well to get Vortexia down. And so Castry now in a 1v2 against two of the better players in the lobby.
You know, we can always rely on Castry and Vortexia to be like the mid-game mini-boss to FNCS. I think literally 8 out of 8 games now, we are watching them fight someone new. Everyone is getting the Vortexery experience. I believe that Reese was saying on the desk. Like, I think every single time, it's on all sides of the board. It's so interesting to see how each duo kind of reacts to it. Pink and Anas also know about all the control they have on this side of the map. They can really force this fight and understand that there's no one going to be in their way when they go back to zone.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Those guys seem to be so erratic in their play style. I've met Vortexia in person. He was far from erratic. You know, very, just a very cool guy. Quiet, you know, just sort of kept to himself. But in the lobby, in the game, he gets busy. Shows you, man. Players really just sort of get into their element once they head inside. Can really express themselves.
Seeing the perspective of first up all the way down to 5th right now, and off that fight as well, Pink and Anas claim back their title. A crown is going to be shared this game, I believe, by these two teams, because Tus and Putrick are about to get through a fight of their own.
Benji going down. What is going on here?
I'm trying to make it out myself.
That was...
Putrick down 2. That's going to be huge. First place gone to Kinzel and Decipto. So after that whole mosh pit, the entire top side of the board changes.
That was so messy. Oh my goodness. You know, that's one of them real rough engagements to watch. It's exciting, right? Lots of action going on, but can't really see too many winners coming out of that. Kinzel and Decipto, of course, will claim that trophy. But yikes. A lot in terms of how this lobby will play out later on being determined there. Hen and Queasy just tinkering along the line of being above. They're going to need to do a bit more damage. They know those teams will eventually have to move, and so we'll probably look to try hold them out as they make their way to zone.
For Bad Sniper and DKS, this should be best case scenario. Some of these end game interrupting teams, like Teuces, aren't going to be in the equation when it comes to their high ground type of gameplay. Their control-centered but peaceful retake on height and mid-ground. They should be allowed to do that a lot more often.
See here, they're in a 2v1 against Mr. Savage, and they were actually the ones that took down Benji, so they knew Savage was alone as a solo, but you saw how slow they played that fight, right? Because if you're in a 2v1 against Mr. Savage, even though you have the numbers advantage, it is Mr. Savage. You don't want to give him an inch. Even that half a second that Bad Sniper had to 1v1 him, you saw how much it took of his HP just to tank that, and DKS quickly had to come to the rescue. So Benji and Savage will go down, but DKS and Bad Sniper, not at tilted, but just outside of tilted, getting the best of them this game.
That's what I wanted to mention, right? The tilted towers off spawn beef goes straight to the grass a little bit off the POI, and then the Chonker Speedway conundrum as well ends up being finished a little bit away from that POI as well. A lot of these teams, it feels like on day 2, are identifying the patterns on how their opponents move, tracking them, hunting them down, and then taking them out after they have loot, after they have a little bit of a sense of how the game is going. So you're seeing those day 2 adjustments really roll by, at least side by side on these POIs. Now it's a completely new equation for Lincoln Default, a team they haven't really dealt with on either day. Rifle and Marion rolling in right beside them. Everyone's just kind of chilling inside the metal boxes down below. And usually all these trees are burnt down. I'm wondering exactly what's going on here, if someone's storm surge plans changed while rolling in.
Things are getting tough, grinning, squinting face.
Get rid of these trees just to give themselves more vision, better lines of sight to hit some of these shots. Vino and Jodo, they look like they're in a bit of a pickle. You can see the armored walls coming out to try add a bit of extra protection, but that's not going to be enough.
These sweats are crazy.
Now with his back against the wall and not much HP, he's got the chug splashes. That's going to be a lot of quick HP that he can add to his tally, but ultimately he ain't got much time to work with regardless, so he will also go down.
But it's hilarious seeing them killing each other.
These teams will sit in zone and hold you, stop you from coming in, and so that will be the end of their run in this game.
I'm liking these very interesting transfers of power. I feel like, I don't know, I have this headcanon in my head. Every time a team eliminates another one, they gain a little bit of, like, I don't know, the way they play. I feel like every time I see anyone take out Pink, Anas, or Aqua, they end up having a little bit more setup for height, or have that as a part of their personality in the game. Hen and Queasy are the ones that find Aqua. I'm not exactly sure where Noah Riley is, but that seems
rolling
like
on the floor laughing.
Might be both teammates. We'll see in just a second. Maybe Noah Riley is up.
Are you predicting a high ground masterclass then in this game from Hen and Queasy? Is that the shy way to call?
I think so. If Aqua's not there, if there isn't like a, you know, mysterious beat people aren't used to in the lobby, because he did try to take high ground in that first game, and Hen and Queasy
And THX, it's the official banner for the channel.
I feel like they finally gonna have a sense of control. If they're coming in the same way Aqua is in terms of attacking the zone, this should be one of the best spots to take high ground whenever that's possible.
Yes.
Also, don't mind me at the bottom at the screen grinning, squinting face.
One last game, Janice and Vortex. And if you watched yesterday's broadcast, sorry, I know I'm going to sound like I'm repeating myself here, but these guys really on the type of beat of, hey, we're going to do well in game 1.
Rolling on the floor laughing.
For about 3-4 games, you guys won't see us. Then we're going to come back in like game 5 or 6, win, or just have a really big pop-off and be super high on the standings.
One game wonders, Janice and Vortex, at least on the super pop-off.
The funny thing is, though, right, I feel like there's this narrative, right, that, you know, maybe they aren't able to gain their momentum. I actually do think they're a very consistent team, I should say, right? I think one of the biggest problems they have is that they don't do a good enough job of mitigating the risk of some of these later zones, right? And so when they don't necessarily get favorable zones, they can struggle, right? They don't necessarily have massive adjustments in their game plan. They just get a bit unlucky with the zone sometimes and can't deal with that.
Adapting is literally, I feel like, more than 70% of these games. So if they are acing that 30% and doing it very well to where it can represent a majority of their points, cool game plan to maybe end up top 5. They'll have to break that stride to maybe get towards that first place spot. We'll see some of the teams below on Surge going for moves, but you talked about narrative, Levin. The narrative of this game has really changed. We're talking about Hen Queasy with the comeback with some of these top teams down. Toos, Pootrick, Pink, Anas, and Aqua as well. Not going to be one of the top teams, or the teams that likes being on top in terms of high ground. 3 high ground teams and 2 teams high on the leaderboard are not alive for the moment, and I see Hen and Queasy next to Trulix and Chico higher than anyone else in terms of bases. We're gonna have a very different game right now. Kinzel Decipto's alive as well and really thriving from fight to fight. They're the ones that kind of survived that entire Benji entanglement as well. This will be a very different type of game, and already we can see the flare is a little bit fun to watch from Queasy and Hen. They're moving in with the swings. They're looking pretty spry as they do so. At the front side of the zone with the potential now to build that base up towards the skies for height. They have everything set up. We talked about the other high ground base, Chulex Chico. Hen actually took down Chico while moving here. This man nonchalantly takes out the only opponents that were in a position to get the height, and they're bullying an armored wall. Is there enough time to get this down before that resurrection comes through? Absolutely. The pressure's there. That's insane.
They're going to keep it going as well. That's nice. Hen, an absolute powerhouse. He does it like nobody else at times when he goes berserk mode. And so we'll see whether this really is going to be their game to claim high ground with some of their opposition not there to stop them.
Yeah, that top floor, the penthouse suite, it is empty. Thomas HD, Tayson, you'll notice they're only looking up right now. They kind of have the scope of what's going down around them. Thomas is really focused on that base above, and now maybe on the people around them, maybe seeing who's not editing, looking for pads.
High ground, nice Star Wars reference, lol.
On the front side of zone. Janus Vortex, you talked about the adaptation. They're not going to be able to flow smooth like water this time. They got iced up, cooled down, and Vortex is gone.
You've seen Janus have some crazy clutches, right? In the week where they qualified for the FNCS, Janus had a game like this from this point onwards as a solo, and he went absolutely huge. And so we'll see if he can do it again.
We always know that Scram and Rescard are going to be some of the duels that get picked apart at the very start. Janus not going to find a shot. It should be very important to land one soon, though. 158 below. That zone will start to strike at him from the skies. He finds one solo he can kind of bully, and he's really rattling it away. It's a duo, actually. He's making it look like it's a solo with the way he isolates these fights. Meanwhile, we look over at height. Hen and Queasy, the fact of first place for the moment, it looks like, how has this happened? How have they taken over the board? They're looking to maybe have a name in this game, but look, it's Alex and Andy. The people you never expect to take height, but they do, and they make it very difficult to retake. They invest so much to keep things alive. They're up. ZKS and Bass Sniper tried to hold on to the high ground as well. They got denied. Who will reign supreme as Thomas HD and Tayson look to take height as well. They're going for the full retake. Janus on the right side is also trying to clutch. He finds a little bit of damage, but Thomas HD and Tayson, they have the clouds under their control.
They went into the back of the zone. It looked like maybe they were tanking a bit too much HP. Was it going to be worth it? At the moment, it seems like it is, because they have control of high ground, and this is where they want to be. This is where they will feel utmost comfort, and it's from this point onwards that they can really determine how these standings look.
Janus still has second place under wraps for the moment. This man's basically using Shadow Clone, moves all around. It seems like I'm watching 2 players playing at the same time, building and still shooting at the same time, having pressures on both ends, but it's too much. Requires a lot of chakra to maintain. He goes down. Clown and Grolls now. He'll start to move in. Second place, they take it over from Janus. What it looks like, it's just a little bit of chaos on all sides. They have the mats, it's just wood, totally reason of a deal on the same layer around them. This is going to be really scary for height. So many duels alive, a lot of pressure to maintain.
And you can see Hen and Queasy, they keep looking up. You know that's exactly what they want to do, but the material count is dwindling. But you can say the exact same thing for Thomas and Tayson. They haven't got much to work with, and Tayson actually has got to be careful as he almost drops down to his demise. The armored wall for the extra bit of protection, but he knows that this team right below him is a hindrance, is a hassle. But Reason and Vidil now from out of nowhere, and they have actually been able to grab height from Thomas and Tayson. Tayson looking for the chop, but is it going to be enough? Hen isn't going to be there. Reason is going to do a good job to snip him out and send him down, and so Vidil and Reason have stolen height, and they might steal this from Thomas as well. He doesn't have much to say. He has no materials. Will try to slide out of dodge, but can't get out of the way. Vidil and Reason bulldoze the high ground team.
It looked free, but that team before Thomas and Tayson absolutely got trapped and scammed. Now Refsguard down with Scram on the low ground, going to be looking for crazy shots, and they're landing so much and a lot. Scram with the moves, but it's not going to be possible for him to stay alive. Refsguard now will try to make as much as possible from this situation. One pillar in the way of him, and a big shot from Clown. He actually backs up, and now Refsguard might go down playing the placement. Clown not out yet. Refsguard's trying to just do something from this spot. That shotgun railing, but it's not going to be possible for him to stay alive. Now everyone's lost inside the soft towards low ground. Meanwhile, up high, Vidil and Reason, they look just so free and fly.
Doing reason. We always know that they're going to be good for one game. Yin and yang, they are so in sync. And here above everyone, it looks like their game to lose.
This is going to be a nice little slow burn towards the end. Rifle and Marine, they have very good trap setting potential. Hit hard when they do find the angles. Reason of the deal, though, we know they're game finishers. In a 2v2, this might be one of the strongest duels you can see, but look at Rifle and Marine jumping around. Doesn't matter. Reason of the deal, they close it out. That is the game 8 VR.
Once you open up for a moment and give them an inch, they take a mile. You never want to leave yourself exposed against Vidil and Reason. Absolute legends coming through, and they do a spectacular job to get the victory royale. What a game for these boys.
I feel like that retake is a lot more impressive than the way they just finished out that game. Very default, very slow. I like the fact that they have the temperament to slow down and look for the shots instead of chasing them through. That's what they're historically known for. Just a nice game 8 overall, and now they're really high on those boards.
Yeah, that was real nice from those guys. A real big game in terms of the standings. They did really well early on yesterday, and now finally coming through today as well. Zeke, Boop, Reese, break that down for us.
Don't you worry, 11, that's what we're here for. And my goodness, the only thing cooler than going from 27th to now getting a victory royale, which is going to rocket them up those standings. It's at his 11th birthday today. You're welcome, Levin. I got you, bro.
Happy birthday.
My goodness. There you go.
I've never seen sweats up close like this low.
27. So this is like what I kind of talked about at the very beginning of the show, right? With the prize money, the placement. To go from 27th and ending that game in 17th, right? Now we're starting to say, okay, we can start striking at top 10.
Holy moly, they worse than I thought.
They could continue to rise up the standings.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many teams going for high ground this game with Tayson, Thomas HG, Queasy, and Hen. It was a bunch of these big boy players over on high ground trying to crank it out. But, you know, I was talking with Vidil and Reason today on Twitter, and they said we didn't get a single zone. And this time, the first east side zone, I told them, you better win it, and they did. So they delivered on their promise, thank God.
It's really good. It's interesting as also, it's like this is the first game they've actually played as a duo in my eyes that I've seen, you know. When you look back through a lot of the performances through the qualifiers, through semis, you know, basically, well, not through semis, but through all they've been played in the cash cups and everything, these guys are just kind of play solo and end game, it seems like. They've not got, I mentioned yesterday, they were kind of the opposite of Cammy and Teak. They don't have like a full tarp they work through. It's just messy. They just hit their shots. They're just chaos left, right, and center. This is one.
Absolutely insane, man. I mean, once again, I don't know why everyone is deciding high ground, we all want it. But I mean, high-profile duos are getting pushed out of high ground, right? Things like Nas and Pink, who we thought, and we have only almost exclusively seen in the high ground, right? And now these other duos are kind of making their way through and saying, look, we're down to fight for the high ground right here, right now. Pablo and Swag as well. My goodness, boys, y'all showing up huge. I mean, again, there's just so many of these, I want to say like small tech that's happening across the games, right, Boop?
Yeah. And you saw that Pablo and Swag, why we showed them taking that card there, because they took Pink and Anas's mobility. And that meant that they were late to rotate, with Texas and Castry catching them off guard in zone, and that caused them to rotate very slowly and late. And you saw them, they got caught out, caught lacking, and that small little issue of Swag and Pablo taking their car ended up in this, down in 29th place. You know, just those small things in spawn fights can just have massive butterfly effects. And it is scary because, you know, all these other guys, they're coming back up towards the leaderboard. And, you know, now you're gone.
Yeah, and also you got to think the other people who are impacted matter Thomas and Tayson, right? Thomas and Tayson coming out with that drop spot, having all of this mess around them, capitalized on that, actually did well on Storm Surge for once, and they were on height. Obviously, they weren't able to capitalize on the Victory Royale aspect of that, but they did manage to have a good game because of it.
That's right. I love it. Reese, let's take a look at the standings together, okay? I want to see how this is all Yeah, it's me and you. Of course, Boop's
Sorry,
here. You
Boop.
know, he's here.
It's fine.
Once again, Grolls and Clown have taken over that spot. So we kind of saw them for like the briefest moment, Reese. We saw one of them go down, and the other was just sitting there They were out of materials, and they had to make these plays in the low ground. But it's kind of fine, Reese, right? Like, as long as you hit placement, you don't even need eliminations, really. You're just trying to hold on.
Well, you say that, but they have the most eliminations, right?
True.
They have the most eliminations so far, and 3 of the games that they've played, they've gone over 7 or more eliminations. So, like, they are fragging out like a low ground team should, right? Historically, in trios, when you see teams on the low ground, they're able to create such a good tarp and capitalize on the players who have low HP, low materials, pick up tons of elimination points because of that. And we've not seen that too much in Geos, but now with Girls and Clown, they are easily able to do that.
Yeah, and I want to mention Hen and Queasy here real quick. Yesterday, Queasy, he said he was very, very unlucky. I even spoke to Jerky, who won FNCS with Queasy last season, and he said, yesterday it reminded me exactly of when we won FNCS. A lot of bad luck, and Queasy today is feeling really confident because if everything went wrong yesterday and they got 5th, now coming into day number 2, and something goes right for once, they got zone for once, that is so scary. And I think we're about to get a Hen and Queasy show today.
It should be in there, my prediction, let's be real, so I'm hoping for it. And 10 to also see their ex-teammate Trulex, who has been consistently in the top 10 throughout the course of a couple of days, move over to that next page. And Lex and X-Squeeze, typically a player who is a day 2 team, doing the complete opposite of that so far. A team who's now actually doing significantly worse in the second day, starting to drop down from, 6th, now into 11th, so they're starting to go down the leaderboards a little bit.
Yeah, and Cammy and Teague, they're in 12th place as well, as it pains me to see them struggling in this final. Not really sure what's going on with them. Maybe, just not having as much preparation as they should.
Could even be nerves, right, Boop? Like,
possibly.
Today is a much, way more difficult, in the competition, right? Yesterday, you kind of had this day to be like, okay, well, let's kind of set up for day number 2, but if you're not coming in confident, your duo is going to struggle, right?
Yeah.
And especially with things like Surge, it's like if you're already struggling and you're like, wait, we don't have a Storm Surge plan, it's not gone our way, you're just not going to have a great game. So we just need these players to focus up. Listen, you guys have made it to the finals, okay? You're the very best of the best. Let's just keep our heads down. Let's focus up. We got this, all right? We're going into our next game here in the FNCS. This is Europe, and we've got Shy Wager. We got 11-2K. They're standing by. Let's go say hello to them.
Guys, I'd like to formally let everyone know, after this event, I will no longer be casting because Clown and Grows have proved that even if you don't have the top experience, if you put in the work, you can do well. So with that being said, I'm going to be looking for a duo. Hit me up if you think you're good enough to play in the FNCS finals. I'm down. I'm ready to grind next season. We go.
Okay, Lemon, let's do it. I might just join you on that journey, but we'll have to play on like a region in between EU and NA. Maybe, I don't even understand how that would work, but regardless, they still have to put in the work because we still have a few more games to go. That being said, every single one of these 11 is getting kind of crazy. It's either one where the top are thriving or they're out before the game even starts.
Yeah, it's one of these games and days where honestly, you really go into every game with whole new expectations in terms of how will things play out, how do the dynamics between the different POIs work out. We've seen a lot of fights happen that we'd expect to happen in POIs, maybe happening across the map in different areas as well, right? Really, really fun and exciting stuff in the FNCS finals.
Yeah, and Boop brings up that butterfly effect that happened off spawn for just a vehicle, right? That could happen from game to game as well, and then just go across your entire 2 days. So we'll see people trying to bring it back. I feel like Kefi and Melody overall as well on Shifty Shafts dictate who gets into that end game. We saw the damage Refsguard and Scrammed. If they weren't there, 11, might have been a very different game. Genesis Clutch could have gone completely differently. It's just these little decisions that just change the destiny of the FNCS.
Yeah, and trying to now like path that out and interweave that into how you actually think about your analysis is very crazy, but that's what Fortnite is, and we have much more of it right now.
Game 9, a little bit of a halfway point for the second day, and we're rocking straight towards the drop. Rukas Essen already landed. They'll be up against Clown and Grolls. Grolls already taken a little bit of damage. They've spread apart exactly where they are, so we already see the adjustments. It might just be that glide, and I understand this might be a dope way to play the game, just try your best every single game and see what you can do in terms of eliminations low ground. That's what we're seeing from Grolls and Clown over and over again, box to box, but if you can only play half the games on the day, I'm not sure if it works out really though.
Yeah, maybe they heard me and they decided, look, Levin, it's not that easy. We have to really work as well. It's not as simple as just jumping in and thinking you can be first in the leaderboard. Seti going down in the feed. Joe also going down. It's getting crazy at Sleepy. As we watch our first place team, Grolls and Clown. This fight moving a bit slower pace than what we've seen in the previous 2 games. Pukano trying to change that, picking up the pace a bit. And Grolls has got to be careful because he doesn't have materials, and all he has is the pistol with a couple of shots left.
Has to just land every single one in a double spray. He's not going to find anything from both players. I don't know, look like Zestiny's going to jump all the way towards the top and maybe try to control things, but they should be a little bit lower on mats overall just because they're expending so much to travel around this building, trying to get that control. They are the ones farming more, though, it seems like. Found trying to find a flank from the left side. Jump shot not going to land. Grolls then being beside him. I think everyone's just confused. We're really looking for, what, a perspective of POV or no? Just get all the swaggy inside that truck. It's going to be tough for them to land shots back if he's not actually peering out the window, but he decides to just get a new angle with this. This is so cool. There's no way they can actually rail too many shots into that truck because it takes a lot to actually make it explode. He's pushing even more forward for it, actually making so much room for Zestin to find the last chest. And then they get out? I don't know what type of dynamic call this is. This truck is moving so slow. The most awkward, and it looked cool at first, but not as cool disengage. I like it though. What a creative way to kind of attack your POI.
Yeah, definitely a creative disengage. It's weird because when he initially just sort of hopped out of it to take some shots, I was a bit confused. I was like, bro, I'm assuming you're getting in the shot to get out. Or are you just using it to play with the angles? I'd like to think not, but they eventually do leave. And so we'll see how this game plays out in terms of Grolls and Clown. What they have to do in terms of damage and surge moving forward deeper into the game. As we said, every small engagement, every small interaction has its implications. We might just be watching one of those. Well, Texi and Carceria team we've been following quite a bit. And I'd love to be able to say it's because of their endgame prowess, but it's because of their mid-game madness. They really have just been involved in so many of these fights mid-game, and they just haven't had a lot of them go in their favor just yet.
Who's the next target? Who's going to be rolling in? That's the question. They kind of affected Pink and Anas's game, and that affected everyone's because with them at high ground, it would have been very, very different. We'll start that fly and glide, though. Kind of taking over that Pink Anas mountain and looking for that surge before, you know, the Kings of the lobby do themselves.
Back over towards Sleepy, where Vino doesn't have Joe. And I don't think Chapix has Seti by his side, just because I did see Seti go down in the feed a bit earlier. Of course, there's always the potential for the reboot. I don't think that's just happened yet.
Vino's going for it.
Yeah, and Vino's got to be careful because he knows he can be heard. And Chapix is just sort of sitting there. Will Chapix allow him to get him? I think that would probably be a mistake in this case. He wants to keep this at a 1v1. It's probably for his best. But Vino will just keep prying away. And at a certain point, I think he might just be successful. I think he wants to stick it. No, he won't. He will back off.
This is like the weirdest turn-based battle simulator I've ever seen. You know what? On one side is Vino, almost out of like moves to use, out of stamina. Chapix at the top, just like using the same move over and over again. Complete impasse. I don't know what to make of this.
It's funny because even at like a more basic level, like we've all been in these sort of scenarios in Fortnite, right? You're trying to reboot your mate, but the guy you're fighting just won't let you, and you're like, bro, just fight me or let me reboot. Like, pick one. Don't just sit there and stop me from rebooting if you're not gonna fight me. Like, yeah, I'm sure Vino expressing my frustration as well. PKR taking out Kiko.
Okay.
That's a fight we saw today. Marine over at Chonkers out of Butter Barn. So it seems like these guys wanted to get involved in the madness that is Chonkers Speedway. It didn't quite work out for them, so I don't expect to see them continue to push that in the latter games.
Not expecting to see Benji and Savage in another situation where they kind of lack overall control, but it's going to be against Bad Sniper and DKS who have delayed this engagement. I think this is the smartest thing they've done day one versus day two. Some of the things they were doing on day one is either taking the engagement instantly, in which case they were basically losing every single time, or just not taking it at all and playing split the entire game. They have changed things now, and this is the second game where I feel like I'm seeing them just side by side, waiting, getting loot first, and then attacking Benji and Savage.
It's interesting. It looks like Benji and Savage have been the ones to push towards the south side of Tilted. Maybe they want a bit of revenge, right? It was last game that BKS and Bad Snapper took them out. It wasn't in Tilted, but just on the outside. And maybe that impulsiveness will pay off, or maybe it will be what sends them back to the lobby again, because you know there's another team sort of lurking in this general area. It's not going to be a clear-cut 2v2, which most people probably would expect Benji and Savage to win under normal circumstances. But in any case, this is far from normal circumstances, right? The pressure is on. Not many more games left to determine your fate. And T-Chips and Artskill, a duo who many of us had big hope for in these games. They've not quite been able to piece it together, landing at 7 Outpost 2. Swag and Pablo have mainly been the duo that have had success from this side of the map. But it's in this game where they have an opportunity to turn the tide. Swag is fending for himself. He's low on shields. And eventually, he'll run out of builds as well. And when he does, that's what will happen. Artskill will deliver the finishing blows.
I feel like that's the only way you can really stop the Flames boys, right? This is one of the duos that just stay alive inside the endgame as teammates. And if you have that type of quality, it happens all the way. You know, you just get to stay and have as much placement as possible. That's what's really been well for them. T-Chips actually laying a trap down. They had pre-edits on, like, I think 2 different walls there. And then Swag taking apart as an individual. And, man, they're going to be frustrated off of that one. You can see the emotion right after the elimination there. It's tough because that's the only way you can really break them down. You have to try to lay this trap and take them off early.
And they've done such a great job of it beforehand, but to be honest, there's 12 games. You can't be perfect for all 12, right? And I think that will be sort of the message there. I know their coach, Mick, will be watching, and so maybe he'll be able to pass a message on to them to keep their cool. They've done so well up to this point, and they shouldn't allow that to derail them.
Talking about not being perfect, Girls, Clown, same exact type of story. Yes, they're a lot of the times inside the top 5, but their games are just seesaws over and over again. I mentioned this analogy a little bit yesterday, but that was more for, you know, people's surge plans overall. For the placements we see for this team, it's either top 5 or double digits way back in the way. 47th or 5th. 47th or 5th, Levin. That's been their last 4 when it comes to Girls and Clown. And, you know, they've kind of broken that pattern, it seems like, in this game overall when I'm looking in. So far, you know, not going down at the start of the game. Back and forth, and somehow they're in first. The actual embodiment of that statement.
When they write the sacred book of Shio Asia, I can't wait for the verse about walking paradoxes. Wow, beautiful.
It's a close one. It's a close one. Toos, Putrick, one of the most challenging players to fight. One of the most challenging duos to cast over without messing up their names. They'll be rolling through. Just Toos though, he's gonna try to find Putrick and get him back up. Janice and Vortex. Also kind of not in the best spot. I don't know how they approach this game. You've mentioned them a little bit and talked a little bit, Lebanon, you know, how they roll when it comes to mid and end game, but it just seems like they're struggling 24/7.
I think the big thing with these guys is just being able to put themselves in better positions deeper into the games. I don't really worry about them. I think they have a very consistent early to mid game, which is what's made them one of the better teams in this lobby. Oh dear. Two's trying to get a reboot at Greasy and will be stopped in his tracks by none other than Vidil. But on Vortex and Janice, I genuinely think that these guys have gone under the radar. It's the reason why yesterday I said that they are a dark horse team. And I actually think they are one of the more complete teams in EU, right? We've seen them win on height, we've seen them win on low, and they're comfortable in both. Vortex have nothing but positive things to say about this young lad. Honestly, so talented, right? I don't know how Germany keeps producing all of these like crazy, berserk, firepower, talented. It's just crazy. They have way too many. Right? Someone needs to check out what's in the war in Germany. I don't know.
Honestly, just rolling in and making sure everything's good right now. Benji and Savage are in a little bit of trouble. It's an all-in on both sides, and they are going to go down again. That's, I believe, to Coop and Fraction, who are always somehow in the business and going down, but it seems like once out of every 5 games, they affect the boards in a major way.
Yeah, right? They if they're going to go down, they're going to drag someone down with them, and this time, unfortunately, it's Benji and Savage. Cammy and Teak almost being dragged down as well themselves. They've got to be careful. These guys will probably start to rise up in the standings as they find a bit of consistency. Another example of a team where when you're analyzing them, you never really have many negatives to say.
Not at all. And right now, Zestin's going to be in position to be low on Surge overall. 12 teams need to go down before it stops. Them and Hookah usually have everything locked down and fine off of spawn because they have 2 full eliminated bodies worth of damage, but they disengage this time, so their entire story changes. 50 below, we see Vino and Joe actually flying away. They'll get rattled on a little bit, have to sacrifice a launch pad for being in this position. That's because they've been stumbling their way through mid-game. Nothing's really been organized. They're going to lose a very important ingredient for their end game rotations. Zestin and Hookah will try to use it as well, but you know, once they hit this pad, Joe and Vino, along with the rest of the lobby, will be looking to beam them up. There's first place right now, Hennet and Queasy. Looks like they might have got a few picks. Oh, we saw Rolls and Clown fooling around. And Zestin is going to be on their walls, desperate, but that might just be a free elimination overall for Queasy. He just lands that one shot. I think they understand exactly what's going down. They have 5 seconds actually to get this shot, and they don't, and someone else picks them up.
And that...
That right there is going to be possibly a tough situation for Hennet and Queasy as well. I was slightly surprised in that instance moment because I felt like Zestin might have attracted 3 different duos' attentions to Queasy and Hen's spot. I just saw a triple spray start to happen and wood walls open, so that's why I was surprised.
Hopefully they won't have to worry about that as the zone starts to move, and they will have to follow. There is always a potential to be held when you start to move in. And you can see Teak and Cammy looking to force one duo away just so they can use their pad. I like that, pressuring them into rotating for you as they follow in, but they got to make sure they keep their distance. They're going to land here on the brick, which is nice. They can refarm it, get the material count up because they are struggling right now. Some would call this shambles. They need to get their mat count up if they want to have any chance of really going deep in this game.
And the tough spot about this is that it's not the Sanctuary, it's not the Joneses where they have a little bit more brick available. In terms of Cover Cavern, on all these mountains, everything is so far apart when it comes to farming. There are no bases you can really hide under. It's literally just natural mountains. Plus, some of these trees are just the big ones where if you chop them a little bit, that log falls down and it's impossible to farm without chasing after it. You can't really do that in an FNCS lobby.
You can see Ryzen and Phoenix on the right of your screen. This was a team that many people said, look, day 2 didn't have the greatest of success day 1. Are they going to start getting a bit more aggressive day 2? And considering they're dealing with Surge and they're trying to out-heal it, I think the question, or the answer, sorry, probably is no. But when will that penny drop? When will they realize that they really do have to try to take the game by the scruff of their neck if they want to start rising the standings, which they are very capable of doing as they've shown throughout the qualifiers?
I think every team's kind of in that position just for this lobby, specifically for the zone. No one really in the next safe spot. Just 2 duos who barely crept their way in, with everyone now on rotational duty. I'm not sure exactly what happened to Cammy's box there either. Really deleted as he starts to build it. It's a big tree that falls in his way. They're already down bad on mats. Not have that extra box, that's going to hurt that duo a lot on the top side of your screen. We're going towards that cavern as well, so Tayson and Thomas will just stay inside for the moment and make sure everything looks hunky-dory before moving out. I think Cammy and Teak might have missed their window though here, Levin. Everyone was moving. They were too. That log in the way makes them slow down a bit, and now they're not safe to move. It'll cost them mats.
The problem is that there's nowhere really to refarm in the zone right now, so if they want to get themselves back in this game, they're going to have to do what they did here, right? Get an elimination of some sort, but trying to set that up will be very, very difficult. Let's see what was going on in the zone. The reason why they were so late to rotate out of tilted Marine was the fawn in their side, and so he has inadvertently made their game very, very difficult. They won't just have to climb the covert mountain, they have to climb the mountain in the standings as well, because they've still got a ways to go. Tayson gone from looking like he was in a pretty comfortable position next to Thomas to just 33 HP.
Have a little bit of friction inside this cavern right now, but it's going to be fine overall. They have everything locked down for the moment. I'm just concerned on their departure flight when they actually have to leave. How do the skies look? Because right now it just seems absolutely stormy. And speaking of which, him and Kiriachi right now, they actually picked up a few eliminations of the feed themselves. They're looking good to be, you know, based up right now inside somewhere in the circle and zone. Kaizen finds a few, and Kinzel as well is having a few eliminations. Cammy finally down to Kaizen actually, and Resguard and Scram actually get splintered apart. They're already bad on Surge. Look at the bottom left of your screen right now. They went through a few shields, almost 2 inventory slots worth of, and they're both still getting sprayed. Scram loses his entire blue bar, trying to protect Refsguard as he heals, and now they'll invest even more materials in their spot to try to base up. But as I pay attention to that mini-map, they actually do get a little bit of luck on their side, a little bit of a chance to breathe. Meanwhile, no Reason of a deal. They're getting just dropped inside their box. 76 below, they're bad on Surge, but Reason has an angle to just completely start to spray. Now he's slightly above, but he's lost his teammates, and he's stuck in the river in the depths, swimming with the fishes.
We know their plan for Surge is to get in, right? But if getting in doesn't work out, there's not many options for you to actually get out, and on that journey, if a deal will be taken down, Reason now left as a solo as a result of it. And he is just barely above now, but will he be able to pull off the same level of clutch as one of his German compatriots in Janis from last game? We've seen Reason do some crazy clutches in the past in different modes and different FNCS competitions. And maybe this might be our classic Reason clutch moment, but he's got a ways to go. Scram and Refsguard have their ways to go, but they covered that distance relatively quickly with the gauntlets, and now they can set themselves up to maybe try to find a refresh of some sort.
Has to be an all-in for them. No bluffs in this situation. They can't really go toe-to-toe with a team over and over. Have no hard mats whatsoever, only wood. That means as they move, they will be very vulnerable to shots on all walls. Meanwhile, looking at the state of the game, Noah Riley active right now, taking out Waflar, a man who likes to move around freely, somewhere towards mid and other times just jetting towards height. Looks like they might have some control. Scram, though, caught sleeping on the wall, does not actually have protection. No, it's Prianits in the way that aren't letting him build. He goes for a few shots right back, but it's Floki and Clement that jump in the box and take him down.
Yeah, and that's the complete opposite from what they needed. Refsguard will be left to solo clutch, and we're heading to another endgame, Shio, where we got a lobby full of duos, but so many of these top duos will be forced to play as solos. And if you can say as a duo as Clown and Groves will look to do and have done so well, this could be a game where they amass so many points and just really start to gain a lead, which is something that nobody's really been able to do in the FNCS so far. And if it is the most inexperienced players, it feels like, in the lobby that are able to gain that lead, it really will be a crazy story.
That feels like all the kings are butting heads. Meanwhile, the newcomers to the castle start to fly and swing on their own terms. Clown and Groves will go a little bit more low groundy. A few miscents on the right side. I'm paying attention to them right now because they're basically in first. They kind of dictate who gets to have the lead for the moment. Vortex and Castry, though, if you pay attention to the left side of your screen, do have a little bit of control in the entire lobby. They're up high on this mountain as Bubak flies by them as well. Resguard starts to swing. Clown is kind of attached to the same builds. He's inside the zone, actually making sure he is building the pathway for Grols to follow. That being said, Bill's on the right side, barely even theirs. Grols not ahead of him. They start to be in the same box. Shouldn't be even allowed for them to be here in this position, not taking much damage. It's a harpoon play. A nice grab at the floors of the duo above, but he's not going to find much for the moment right now. They're just going to completely break through into that tarp. This is crazy. They don't have that many mats, so they have to basically go for this big push and the refresh. One player escapes from the left side. There's one isolated towards the right. Clown now moving backwards in his builds. We'll tune in with that in just a little bit of a second. That's Huddy he's fighting for the moment.
Yeah, they had to commit so much into that, right? And so moving forward in this game, the all-in play will have to come out at some point. But Carson will take to just sort of waltz their way up on high. There hasn't really been anybody to really contest him up until now, and Carson will do a good job of getting control. But for how much longer can they hold it? They've got the web shooters, they've got a decent amount of builds, but just below them is Queasy and Hen. We know how cerebral they are. And there, Grols doesn't have Clown anymore. And so just as a solo, what can he do here as a zone? Continues to just push along this ravine. Can he hit one of these shots? Get something to keep him in the game. The 3 builds that he has aren't going to be worth much. And he knows that. And so the med missile come out, try to heal up, at least give himself a HP advantage, but it's not looking too good for him.
Hen and Queasy still alive. Queasy taking a lot of damage, though. Hen's going straight for the high ground by himself. Big shot on the T-chips. That'll quiet him down. Grols, though, is still here, making the line that Hen and Queasy have to hit be that much further. 220 plus points, and they're still going for the clutch. Bat Sniper also alive, 3rd place overall. He hits a nasty shot onto Floki. Full refresh there. Grols is still putting pressure down on any body that he sees. This is just crazy from him. Doesn't have a harpoon to hit those mats anymore. He's still alive with 1 HP. Finally down. 229 points is what it is there basically to hit a 4-point differential for just Hen as Queasy is gone. He does have high ground for the moment, but I see Thomas, I see Tayson. They're diving in boxes right now. As soon as they realize this is a solo on height, they can just completely switch frequencies and go for that higher spot on the lobby.
Yeah, they had all the pads in the world, but they aren't going to be on height. They are sitting down on low, but they are perfectly fine. Oh dear, Bad Sniper taken out by Hen. He's only a solo on height, but he can hack it. But for how long? Because Tayson and Thomas have taken it. It's moved up the hill, and Hen went down. The Freezy was the one to take him out, but Tayson and Thomas sitting primed and positioned to win it all. There's nothing anybody can do. They were the first to climb the hill, and they will be the kings of it.
That is what you like to see. One of the cavern zones, and it's the people that land there that control the destiny of the POI that win that game. Tayson and Thomas are on the board. They're always good for that special one.
It's taken them a while to get there, but they finally do it, and the cavern zone as well tops it off. These guys finally starting to look like their best selves, and this is when they needed to do it. We're wrapping things up very, very shortly. They need to hold on to this position, but a brilliant game from them.
The thing I like the most about Tayson and Thomas here and just the entire end game, very top heavy in terms of who was hitting the elims, who was actually moving out and about and placed inside that top 10, that top 15, right? So when it comes towards those leaderboards, it'll be a pretty big switch. How far do the game 9 winners climb, though? That is the big question. Just an amazing game overall inside the snow, inside the ice, no sand this time. So I'm wondering, is the desk freezing? Did we see some nice chill plays? Zeke, what you got for us?
Shot Wager, you know there is zero chill when Boop and I are right. That's right. Boop, we're doing it.
Yes,
we're rising on the coattails of Thomas HD. That's right. Tayson's here with us too. We got ourselves a win, boys. We did it.
It's always good to be correct, especially when you beat resub at the same time. Just a perfect day for me.
We'll see when the leaderboards flesh out, because they're going up against Queasy and Hen there in the last moments. I'll have you know.
Okay.
It's true. And, you know, once again, we're just seeing this battle for high ground, right? No one is just, like, happy to let it go by. We saw it change over 3 times in that last little bit of the moving zone there, starting with Castry and Vortexia, going over to Hen, then ending with Thomas HD and Tayson. Now, they did get these low eliminations, and this is actually something you talked about yesterday, Boop, was that even if they do find themselves a win, we're not going to see some crazy, like, double-digit elim, but they're still coming through, and now this means they're going to jump up from top 13 into possibly top 5.
Yeah, I mean, winning a game is good enough regardless, right? You just want to keep on buffing out those points. And there's actually an interesting statistic coming out I saw on Twitter for like Kinch Analytics. Now with his victory royale, Thomas HD ties Anas for the most victory royales in a finals at 8. So, you know, those guys sort of going up there. You know, Denmark, they're making Denmark proud, sorry. And, you know, it's pretty impressive so far from them.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting points about this is the fact that this is basically the exact same game we saw yesterday, but with Pink and Anas still in it, right? This is one of the victory royales that they had. They were on height at 5th zone. Flip that, because Pink and Anas went down early, it was the team that took their place in the drop spot. Vortexi and Castry up on high ground at that point. And it's like, you know, you see the quality of a high ground team by the way that it's executed there. Vortexi and Castry weren't able to maintain that all the way through, giving openings for guys like Thomas and Tayson to obviously pick up the victory royale. Whereas if Pink and Anas were still in that lobby, who were first going into this, you know, that could have been a completely different shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And even seeing like the top one team, right? Clown, they're rolling around, just managing to stay alive. I don't know how Clown and Grolls are doing this, right? Even in those situations where one of them is left alive, they are still just taking every single point they can, right? And that's like a mark of a strong duo, a consistent duo. And right now, Boop, they have eyes set on first place.
Yeah.
Right? It is these small micro advantages they're taking that could mean that they actually walk away winners.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much potential things going wrong for them. Like, who can contest them? You know, they landed on a bush in one of these games, and you know, came out with, like, they ran away with a truck. You know, they did so well here, and this is what I.
Absolutely. Look, I want to see what the leaderboards look like, though, because we've seen the fact that I may have said Pink and Anas were in first. I meant first yesterday coming into it, because obviously Grolls and Cloud were in first coming into that.
Okay, I like it. Let's take a look at the standings. We'll talk through this. This is now the halfway mark, okay? Just think about this.
Right.
After the next 3 games, we will decide the overall winner. And Queasy are holding on, though, right now.
You know, you're saying,
I'm
oh,
sorry.
Jason Thomas HD, they win it so much better. But when you look at the leaderboards, Hen and Queasy are in first place at this moment. Let's go. I know Mum's going to be happy about that. She's predicted them.
I mean, they're close by, Thomas and Tayson. They're so close by, so don't put them out yet. You never know. You never know.
It's true, you know,
man.
Grolls and Clown doing such a good job, though. I'm with you. You know, we just hyped them up a little bit there. A scuffed game off spawn, still managing to make the most of it. Basically, if they go down off spawn, it's a 0-point game, obviously. But even if they get off with nothing, like we said this time, they're still able to make a good game out of it. And that is something that there's barely any teams who can say that about their own gameplay.
I'm just blown away. You know, a duo coming into the first FNCS finals. This stage in the competition, and they're hanging with the very best, right? And they won't let go. That's the crazy thing as well, is like, whatever happens, they're just like, no. We're going to make sure we are as close as possible. As we flip onto the second page, here they are, Pink and Anas there with 179 points. And I mean, you know, Boop, with 3 games, anything still can happen, right? We could watch any number of these duels fall immediately. And that has been kind of like a big factor that plays into why we're seeing them in the end game. Some duels, they just do fall early, right? And then the shoop inning happens. But if it doesn't happen, man, we're going to continue to see this lead build.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you have 6 zones pulled to the west side, that gives everyone so much ammo to VOD of you exactly where you are, right? You know exactly that Pink and Anas are going to be on that hill near Covert Canyon. Covert Cavern, sorry. Let's just all avoid that draw spot because we don't want to get tagged up by them, you know? And that's a big issue for them because now we can see everyone yesterday VOD viewed, they checked it out, they realized, hey, they're over there every single time. And you saw them this game, they were eliminated by Storm Surge. So maybe they got to change things up again because they're a little bit predictable.
100%. And one of the things that I don't think was so predictable was the fact that DKS and Bad Sniper have been dominating so far in Tilted Towers. You know, we were talking off screen there, but we've not really seen much of Kinzel and Deceptos in terms of like those end games. I'm just scrolling through the leaderboard to make sure I'm not waffling. Correct. Yeah, they're in 21st so far. Benji and Savage today, not really seen them too much either. And it seems like, you know, Benji and Savage obviously upset about getting contested the majority of their FNCSs, but the teams now who are contesting them, like DKS and Bad Sniper, are doing well in the leaderboards.
Yeah, you got to make the most of the situation, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, dude, they got bodied off spawn, right? Like, and it's just happening, right? Like, and it's okay, it happens, right? These are the 50-50s we talk about. Sometimes it's gonna go one way, and sometimes it's gonna go another. But these are high caliber duos, right? If they know this is gonna happen, just take a step back. Just be like, look, I don't want to fight this. Like, I want to make it to end game. Let's just take a different loot path. Let's loot our drop spot and then just bail, right? Like, we're gonna see Benji and Savage come online very, very soon, right? Because they evolve over the course of a competition.
Hope so.
And I'm excited to see it. We hope so. We hope so. 57 seconds here on the timer. So we're going to get back on over with Levin, 2K, and Shy Wager for the next game.
Thanks so much, Zeke. You know, I paid a little bit of attention in English class, Levin, right? I learned one thing, which is you can't spell duos, right? The word duos without hen and queasy. Would you agree with that fact?
You know what? When I, you know, look at it in my head and I try pieces together, I think that does make a lot of sense. Yeah.
You got to mirror it, right? You got to translate and then retranslate, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense. We're talking to each other behind the scenes. We don't know how it's happened, right? They're not the most, you know, in terms of flashy duo in terms of both days. But they're here, and they're in first.
I think they've just consistently been able to make it deep into games, which is something that, to be fair, you can't say the same for a lot of the other top competitors in this lobby, right? A lot of them have sort of had games where they are off a bit. And even when Queasy and Hen make it to, even if it's like 11th, 10th, they're able to pick up a couple eliminations along the way, and it's enough to put them into first. And we'll see if they can do that once again as we head into another game of the FNCS Finals.
All right. Double digits for the games. We're at number 10, and we have double trouble up on the board with Hen and Queasy. 235, they have a little bit of a lead, but it seems like every single time we have a battle for the top spot, it's merely just 5 or 7 points that separates those big teams.
Yeah, we're heading into Tilted Towers, which has been a point of interest over the past 2 days. And I'd like to formally apologize to DKS and Bad Sniper, because as many other people coming into Tilted Towers, I think most people thought these guys would be the biggest losers out of this POI, right? Benji and Savage have done really well out of here so far this season. Kinzo and the Siptos have just been clean and efficient more times than not. And I think most people thought DKS and Bad Sniper, they don't necessarily always do well in FNCS finals, whether that be trios or other modes. Yeah, they've been the best duo out of Tilted, so props to them. Clown, though, again, we tune into this fight. This time, though, it's a bit quicker than last. Clown will hit the crucial pickaxe shots, and just in time for the rest as well.
That's just really funny. My bad. Having a knock player just close the doors behind him. Try not to get loaded too much faster. Funny to watch, but now Clown's actually stuck inside the room, and oh no, he actually did get the revive at the last time. Hookah, low HP on both sides. He can land 2 big shots, but barely even has any match. The more time he gives Clown and grows, the worse it goes for him. And yeah, there's minis involved. This is going to be bad. Ammunition, though, low overall. And as soon as I say that, he finds a super crate of ammo. So Clown is now back in business. They have a medkit popping as well. I was going to say for Hen and Queasy, one of the things that needs to happen is maybe Hookah, Zeston rolling in and interrupting the game of Grows and Clown, but that is not happening. They're basically getting 3 to 6 free points off spawn. They have a leg up, it seems like, on the entire competition every game because of the way this engagement is going. And if that just keeps happening, they have to grab first at some point.
Yeah. I thought Hookah for a moment had the chance to come in and do it, but he misses window of opportunity. Clown and Grows did well. They created a bit more space. They opened up the back wall, made an extra box to work with. And from that point onwards, he knew it just wasn't a fight worth taking with both of them up. And so he will dip out and they will have a game. But we saw from both sides that when the fight didn't completely break down and one team definitively won, it led to both teams having some issues with Surge deeper down, right? Hookah and Zeston in particular ended up going down to Hen and Queasy, right? And so almost like they're feeding them in that sense where, you know, it benefits those guys instead of Growl. I call it Growl, Clown, sorry. But now we tune back into Tilted, where this fight is breaking out, and we'll see if Bad Sniper and DKS can come out on top.
They're doing this specifically not just because they're contested, but because it's also very easy Surge. I think Benji and Savage had issues with it in previous games. Bad Sniper and DKS running a gauntlet around one of the players. That's Mr. Savage inside the box going down first. You never really see that happening. Usually maybe it's Benji that oversteps in the duo, and usually they're the ones to land that first shot and get a knock, but it's not going to be possible. Now Benji on the back foot inside a car. He's going to have that license, going to have that speed. He's out of there as fast as possible. DKS not too happy about it. Neither is Bad Sniper. They're rolling in, dealing a little bit of damage. Not going to be enough to really secure Benji Fishy today. He will be able to go out and maybe just play the game, come back, get the card. It's a 5-minute timer. He has a lot to work with. Meanwhile, Pink and Nas also making sure their game plan is alive for now.
Yeah, I'm super impressed. I ain't really got much to give in terms of you know what to say there. Like, I'm super impressed by DKS and Bad Sniper's ability. It really seems like that win that they got yesterday has just sort of been a huge sort of ego and confidence boost that is just sort of pushing them and dragging them through. They've done really well out of Tilted. Pink and Anas now in covert. Typically they, you know, sort of like to lurk just outside and around, maybe even on top of the mountain. But this time they were caught inside, but will quickly retreat to where they're a bit more comfortable, just outside the POI.
I think what Pink and Anas don't want is another, you know, brawl with Castery and Vortexia. They understand that they're on top of that mountain. It's one of the reads, one of the adjustments maybe a lot of the people in the area are making. Push this team. They might be slightly unconfident. They're just going for long-range beams. If we just, you know, try to get as aggressive as possible on them, it might actually work out in our favor. So Pink and Anas also adjusting. They can watch their own VODs too and find new game plans. Head and Queasy really want to stick with these guys these game, or at least in this game specifically, to see how they handle really being in the lead now after that leaderboard change, and how they approach this game. Because right now, it feels like they're running under the radar for every single team and the broadcast as well in the way they're in first place.
You can see from the info at the top there, very telling of the dynamic that we know exists, right? Queasy is the mastermind, and Hen is the firepower. Getting so many of the eliminations for this duo, and rightfully so. Someone who maybe doesn't even get the credit he even deserves, right? There was a point in time where people acknowledged him as arguably the best player in the region, maybe the best solo player at the least. Doesn't necessarily get those same shouts anymore, but still is on that level and will always go huge when it matters the most. For this duo, they both need to go huge. We saw last game they ran into some surge issues. They decided to do what they usually do and get in a box, try hit some shots, and the shots didn't quite land. And that was the end of their game, pretty much. But this time round, if they can go together and hit them shots, we know what it can lead to.
The combo. That's exactly what they need. Silent Grow is very similar for them too. I feel like they're just blessed with that free surge off of spawn. Always need a bit more from their position. It's going to be all good. When it comes to Tayson and Thomas specifically as well, I mean, you're trying to gamble on someone that can win any fight they're, you know, presented at the start of the game. Has to be Thomas and Tayson. Highest win rate in terms of off-spawn fights. That's insane, especially at a place like Covert Cavern where the drop makes it basically 50-50, right? Whoever has the better glide, but we called it during some of the quals. When it comes to that fly, Thomas HD as one of the best in the game.
Yeah, no, it's surprising. Maybe he's got a drop map from someone. I don't know. Maybe Captor helping out in that sense. Someone surely, because I don't think I would have expected him to have as good of drops for Covert as he had, especially with all the questions about whether he's been working hard enough this season or not. But nevertheless, they have had that, and it's paid significantly for them. But again, like we said yesterday, the job isn't finished, and even with a victory royale, they're still going to need to put in a bit more work if they want to catch up to Queasy and Hen and Clown and Grols.
I think this is the moment in the competition where everyone starts to formulate their plan B and really tries to fix the mistakes they've had in previous games in a very organized way. You'll notice only really one team has gone down on the map. This happened basically once before in EU, I think at the start of the competition. Makes it a very hard game, makes search that much harder overall. Try to grab onto. Kaizen and Yaisen, people who like to just go all in as fast as possible, also being very methodical inside this fight. Up against what looks like DX and Wallflower, Karma and Bubak possibly there, the third party at any moment. And that's, I like that kind of change overall. To take things a little bit slower because, you know, Game 11, Game 12, the last two of the day, that's where desperation kicks into effect, Levin. That's where you have people doing crazy things to try to get back or just try to get up in the competition.
Yeah, and it's not been too great for Kaizen and Yaisen. They were one of the last teams to qualify through to the finals, semi-final day 3. But they haven't quite been able to hit that same level of form in these games thus far. And they're running into Waffler and Diox, who sitting in 14th place, haven't actually been too bad. They've had their moments for sure.
It's been good so far. Tayson and Thomas still inside, farming all things up. Talk about Kiriachi storming it as well, just a little bit. 5th place overall. They're slightly behind. Just need one good game to roll in with. And you talk about off-spawn win ratios, just because Tayson and Thomas, I feel like, are very good at tracking who's around them at any point in the game. It could be a surprise duel coming in. They have an adaptation. It could be someone they're just fighting right off spawn and know exactly where to go immediately to handle it and be in the best power spots.
Yeah, that elimination is nice for them in terms of the implications on Surge. And for them moving forward in this game, you can see they're always going to have really great loot, a great amount of shields, max mats, and pads. And that buff alone is just, it's so strong, honestly. There'll be so many teams in this lobby that will wish they could have that level of loot. And I know Boop will be crying inside that I'm mentioning how good their loot is.
Trying to go for that mini curse. Deox Waffler, have you found, using your 11 navigations of the duo's souls, right? Your analyzation, have you found what they actually do? Or are they still the for fun duo?
I can't tell you what the recipe for success will be for these guys beyond just
Have a car end game?
Oh yeah, have a car end game for sure is definitely one. But I think a lot of the time, right, we know from Diox going back to last year in trios that like there's always that potential to pop off in end game, right? On mid and low layers, crazy aim, very mechanical player. And so that alone always will mean that he has a good shot. But it's about that journey to being able to get deep in the game, right? Can he sort that bit out? They've had their struggles in these games in terms of getting to those points consistently. Again, another team that didn't quite qualify through, you know, with ease. Took them a while, semi-finals as well.
It's all good for them currently.
We say that, but Waffler went down in the feed, so maybe not.
Not all good for them currently. Deox did go down a little bit earlier. Lincoln Default still, I feel like one of the most interesting stories of the day. I could not predict that a spot that would have 4 people contesting at some points would process and then spit out a duo that can just stay in top 10 by default and sometimes be in the top 3 as well. It's just insane. And Link is still online going for shots as default went down. Wants to make sure he makes the most out of this game. 308 above Surge, so not, you know, getting away with the worst part of the deal in the trade. Getting your duo down, though, unfortunate this time. You might be able to sneak in a Greasy to maybe get that card back up, but I already see a few players walking around the entire map, picking up houses, spots, grass, trees, rocks, whatever they can find to make their base. Greasy should be baited soon and taken over. Phoenix down to Letchi in the feed as well. Zandy majorly active and Awesome Pink are on the hunt. They realize 84 below Surge. Not the best place to be. Not many amenities inside this side of living, but it's all good. Pink finds a few to maybe get less stress. Now just one above though. Man, 91. I haven't seen this player count number in a long time at this point in the game. Third zone almost locking in, and 21 players have to go down.
Yeah, this is gonna be absolutely insane. Like, we're gonna have like 7 minutes worth of replays to even see everything that goes down. The amount of players that are about to go down. Oh boy. Pink and Nas, you better hope you aren't one. But you can see because they're below, they're gonna be forced to get into a bit of a fight here. Scram and Rescott on the right-hand side of your screen as well, in a very similar position. And this is where things get messy.
Awesome Pickett falling down the board so many times. He can't afford to lose this fight at all for the moment. Really chasing down this final player, but the lower they go on this mountain, the more eyes start to pry on them all the way from above. Pink cannot land the shot. He is down. Scram takes down Belusi as well. Some of these old lobby leaders are just not finding their stride in day number 2.
And you can see Pink and Nas, they ran right into Tayson and Thomas. And those guys weren't in as much of a hurry, right? Because they were able to get that elimination early on Mirza. And we talked about how that would eventually pay off well for them, and it did right there. They were able to get a couple more. Scram and Escard, though, they went for a couple pre-edit plays, and things seemed to work out. They were able to get a bit of damage. Not necessarily any concrete eliminations out of that one, but the damage is enough to keep them afloat. Vortex and Janice, though, again, this is why I rate them so highly. I just never really see them in trouble. They're so good at getting their surge dealt with, and now they're going to take a bit of a controlled box fight. they're going to feel very comfortable in this situation. And against Lecce and Swillim, who've had their fair share of struggles, this could be a defining moment in their game. This could be the game where they finally wake up. We talk about how they're constantly sleeping giants. They'll hit a couple shots here. Janus will hit some. Vortex will chip in too. And Lecce and Swillim will be taken out. And again, they won game one. They've been a bit quiet the past couple games. Will this be the one where they start to get loud again?
They need to have 2 hit singles in a day. They keep just dropping one banger plus a mediocre album. They really need to start to level up, and this has to be that side B we all love to watch right now. Karma and Bubak, they started all of the carnage off. First elimination on that zone. Thomas, HD, and Tayson, they were the ones that took down Anas, and it looked just so good. Look at Thomas. Look at the confidence. Stride back and forth. That's what we like to see.
Brings a smile to my face. Seeing him in his element there. Hope to see that for many more years to come. Clown and Grolski chilling, positioned in zone now. The vehicle was able to just get them in here. This isn't a bad position as well. They're relatively elevated, which means they have some lines of sight on some of their other teams. You can see Clown taking some shots towards Teak, who isn't quite in yet. That's one of the benefits of just sitting in a high elevation, right? You have more view. DKS, the only view he has is the one on Bad Sniper, because he gets taken out, and Bad Sniper, all he can see is enemies in front of him in his pathway to zone. Deceptus and Kinzel will not let him go easily. Again, another example of 2 teams from Tilted interacting. Nowhere near Tilted though. These guys are bound to each other.
Literal elastic bands around the ankles of every player that lands over at Tilted Towers. And it snaps back. It hurts hard. Only one duo really ends up walking out past the mid game. This time it'll be Kilzel and Deceptos to see exactly what they can do. There is a on your screen to get erased before that quick zone comes in. 43 seconds, Clown has to survive. Guaranteed they'll find possibly a little more placement the longer he stays alive in all these boxes. But once again, 800 mats. He's gonna have to just expend all of them to stay away from the hunt of the duo above.
Yeah, and I'm surprised at how they're even in this kind of a position, right? They had nearly max materials, it seems. And so even if they were, you know, in a bit of a pickle, I'd expect them to sort of commit their mats to guarantee their safety as a duo to stay alive. But Groves will go down. Clown now as a solo, and even if he isn't initially taken out, for him to solo clutch will be very difficult, but he has to, right? The longer he stays in the game, the better it is for his chances in the FNCS, because if he goes down early, it just allows Queasy and Hen to start to build up even more of a lead, tarnishing all the hard work they put in so far.
Absolutely tarnished, and right now Clown is just maidenless for the moment. Only just has a car, no duo to be by his side. 110 above surge, but I would imagine the entire map is like this. Random builds all around, boxes built up because it was a 30-person surge. So many duos split apart, but look at Clown, Honey down. This is nuts. No duo should be allowed to just have a free elim like that. He has the track. Ing just online 24/7, and that just looks so good from him. He's gonna go straight towards Swifty as well. Look at the coolness of that slide. He gets the shield down. This man is in a 1v2, and he's making it look easy.
What a brilliant understanding of angles, right? He's one of the players who is struggling to make his way into zone. There's a bunch of teams holding him in, but he puts himself in between Swifty and the players in the zone, and that allows him to just get some shots off. They're more worried about the teams holding them in from in front, and so he was able to just sneak in slightly behind. But that's all good and well, because even if he does deal with Swifty, he still has to deal with the players in zone holding him, and that's a much more difficult task. He barely is able to get in, but that next rotation is going to be even more difficult, Shayo. The medkit coming off is all good and well, but this is just going to be such a mountain to climb. Is he going to be burned as well? Oh my goodness, you can't catch a break right now.
The grass is going to be converted into suit right below him. It's all good. I'm looking at who else is alive and what trades are going down between all sides. You have to understand, with that 30-person surge, once it ends, the effect of it doesn't. You might have one duo down. You might have a position you didn't want to be in because you had to push a team, and now you don't know what to do with it. So many people are caught in random crossroads. I think Joe and Vino were one of them. They're still having trades. Liza and Mirza were the ones to try to take them head on. I think they went down, and Joe has to go for a reboot, or at least a revive. And Queasy are on something that shouldn't be built or allowed in this zone. And Queasy is hitting shots that Hen should be hitting right now. Both these teammates are just in sync at the moment, in one of the best spots in the game. Look at all the damage they're dealing to, just controlling the lobby. No one even near this amalgamation of a build. Thomas HD Tayson, very different from their sides though. Third place.
Yeah, this has to be a really good game for Queasy and Hen. They're positioned so well up above. And it just means you have so many options. No matter where the 6 zone will pull towards, they'll be able to get there with a relatively clear pathway, or at least the vision of where that clean pathway is. Tayson and Thomas maybe not necessarily having those same level of options, but they have the launch pads, which obviously will give massive benefit as they move forward in this game. But it's all about the next 10 seconds where that zone pulls. You can see the launch pad being dropped now as well to Tayson. Thomas trusts him completely with the sole direction of where they go. But Cammy has nobody to trust. He has to just trust his own instincts. Gets the wall, couple shots. PKR and Mappy backs against it. And this is actually a great opportunity for Cammy to maybe pick up some elimination. He hasn't got shield, so the siphon will go a long way. But he's got to be careful that he doesn't overextend, and that's nice. The mini. 25 HP. It will help. Doesn't get the elimination on Mappy. Ooh, if only
He
was
didn't have a
bonus.
bullet.
Wow.
Oh. So close. That would have been huge for him too. Being able to navigate on that right side, maybe even take over that Tarp Cammy. A game of inches. And right now for the entire server, that's basically what it is. Trying to come back after the disastrous surge we had at the start of this. Cammy obviously just left by himself. A bunch of other people maybe left with less mats, left with less ammo. For one team, the story is different. Second place is basically down. For Hen and Queasy, all they have to do is try to push this lead as far as possible. They're starting high ground on the 5th zone, and they're looking to keep it for the moment. Frack is going to be denied a chance at being a little bit of a retake warrior or a nuisance to everyone. He's going to be chilling. I thought Thomas was going to land on that tarp, but he's not either. He pushes all the way towards the front. Who can stop Hen and Queasy inside this game?
They've done such a great job of diverting all the teams who padded, all the teams who maybe would have looked to hide. You look at all them names, so many of them you would usually think would look to try take it, but none of them could. Queasy and Hen hit the crucial shots to just divert them away. Cammy, though, in the back of the zone in the top right, almost giving up there, just standing still.
This is going to be so dangerous, though. Janice, Reason, Hutrick, Toos, and Thomas HD are all the players on second height. Reason and Vadil are not letting them down, and I see Aqua, too, in the mix. Every top team that loves the high ground is getting in position to take it away from Hen and Queasy. You look at the front side of the zone as well. Trulex and Chico are watching for a wave. Janice now is moving up for it. Vortex on the other side is also trying to climb towards the top. Thomas HD and Tayson will move here, but I'm wondering exactly what's happening at height. They might be those third takers that move forward. Here we go. Janice and Vortex do take it for now. Hen and Queasy maybe overindulged in the mats it takes to hold that position, and they have to give it up.
The sleeping giants have arisen. They have high ground, but will they be able to hold it? We know that they have that ability. Still so many titans below them, and so they need to make sure they prioritize who it is that they are spraying, who it is that they apply the pressure to, and that's a perfect start from Vortex. Chico and Trulex shut down.
Reason joins the battle. He's moving forward. Vino also down. Trulex goes away to 2. Refsguard and Scram. They're going to make sure mid-ground is theirs, but it's Karma and Bubak, 2 statues who won't move. We're going to be in the way, so Refsguard actually goes towards a completely different art gallery. The left side is going to be a lot more about nature, a lot more about builds that are not placed down just yet. Hen and Queasy, though, lost inside. Second high ground for now, or second height completely. Toos is still finding a bit more in the feed. Bubak stops Kinzel inside the mid-ground. Meanwhile, Kirachi Stormright also active. This is 5th place that is still in the game and can look to catch up.
And they've done such a great job, right? While all the chaos was going on above, they've really been one of the few teams to actually have some control on low ground. And so now, whilst the Shambles teams look to drop down, they will hold it, and they will have opportunities for more limbs.
Loss of control on height. Meanwhile, Thomas AC goes for the chase towards mid. Their box though has been overtaken, so he is going to be having to vacate from home. Doesn't matter. Rid of all the guests. Thomas is insane with the damage. He lands 6 different shots and they all hit hard. The beam is there to follow as well. No ammunition. It doesn't matter. Thomas AC with the move. moves. Vidil and Reason down. Janet's gone as well. He's taken out every single big name, and he goes down. But that's 8 fat eliminations under his belt in the feed.
How does Thomas continue to do so many things that just blow my mind? And he has a teammate that can do the same. Tayson will connect to Malibuka. He gets the elimination. That's the HP he needs, and the time as well. The separation to get the minis off. These two have no limits, no bound. They will continue to impress, and they sit in first place.
They looked at the leaderboard and they wanted every single elimination inside that top 10. 4 teams now left, and Tayson is a part of the mix. You have to be careful. Give him an inch, he'll take a victory royale. Moving in low HP, has a chance to pop a mini. It looks good. Reason's the one who's all the way up top by himself as well. It'll be a solo brawl, and he drops first. Reason's there with the beam. Tayson denied access to the endgame, denied access to the clutch. Reason might take the entire power of him though, and be able to use that clutch factor for his own. They've gotten 1 win so far today. Can they do it again? Gabix is down here as well. You're actually storming right towards the low ground. All Reason wants is these 2 teams to fight, and then maybe drop down in the heat of the night, maybe take away that VR for free.
Yeah, Kiriachi and Stormy, they need to stay composed. They've done brilliantly to keep control on low ground. It's been a tough battle, and even with all the chances they've had, they still run out of mats. And no, Gabix will get down. Shmeki also will be gone, and Reason now has a chance to sneak his way in. But will Kiriachi and Stormy be on point? Reason dropping down. We've seen him clutch before, but can he do this 2v1? Is it too much of a mountain for him to climb? He connects with another shot there. Reason needs to be careful. He's the only one in the zone, but the time is ticking.
He has a little bit of a delay, lots of space to work with, and a few more mats. Kiriachi down to the zone. 1v1 for Reason right now. Stormy right down to the low ground. He has a lot of control of all those low builds, but Reason has a lot of say in this fight. 1 tree farmed as well. Stormy right with the med mist. They'll be looking good for now, but it's going down to the road. No more nature to be able to work with. Reason drops down onto the concrete, looking for the first shot, but it's denied from builds from Stormy right. It's the 1v1. He's backside in the zone, maybe looking for a chance to take over at height, a different angle. Reason sees it coming. Builds here, and now Stormy right has the high ground. It's flipped on sides. He has no builds to work with, and that costs a lot of his HP. Reason with the final shot. Is this real? Not just yet. The spray is there, and it's good. Reason and Vidil, 2 wins. Kneel to this duo.
How does he continue to do it? No matter the mode, no matter the season, no matter the FNCS, Reason will clutch up as a solo. He does it time and time again. He never disappoints, and they deliver on another victory. Our Reason and Vidil are on one right now.
It's just crazy, and they're the ones to take down Tayson and Thomas, who stole away so many points from that endgame as well. Remember how this all started? 2-11, right? Hen and Queasy were the ones in first, up top on the high ground. Thomas HD ate everyone, and then Reason makes the clutch happen.